Hello, this is take 2 of cutting onions with David, I guess. So, I am making Japanese curry because it is probably one of my favorite meals to make, and I have needed to clean my room I've been trying to clean my room since December of 2023. It is now 2025, and my room is not clean. I did get a little bit of work done on it the other day, but one of the things that, threatening knife, sorry. One of the things that helps me when I'm struggling with a task like cleaning my room is having easy and available food to eat, so I don't have to like spend energy that day worrying about what I'm gonna eat, making the food, blah blah blah. So I'm making a fuck ton of curry. I am making 2 of these boxes, and that is a lot of fucking Japanese curry. And one of the funny things about this is this calls for 2 pounds of onions. I am doubling this. That means it calls for 4 pounds of onions. There's not a goddamn thing in this world that needs 4 pounds of fucking onions, except maybe French onion soup or something. I don't know how many onions that takes. I've never made it. So, we are cutting a lot of onions, and I did chill them before bringing them out to cut them, but the thing is that since then, my dog needed a walk. And I started the video and started cutting them, and then I had to take my dog for a walk. So they're no longer chilled. So I will probably have red eyes and stuff for the entire video. That's fine. We're doing it anyway. Because I just wanted to make a video. And I wanted to talk about some shit. Also, one of the reasons I actually do... So this is I have like a full 3 fucking pound bag of onions that I'm cutting up. Because my sibling has requested in the past to use a lot of onions because they fucking love onions, and I figure it's like, well, if they love onions that much, it is a small price to pay to put a fuck ton of onions in this curry to make them happy. And I don't want to hear anyone's judgment. I don't want to hear a fucking word about how many onions I'm putting in my goddamn curry. You want to make it differently, make it yourself, and put in a reasonable amount of onions instead of 3 fucking pounds. So anyway, we're chopping onions and talking. I wanted to talk about a show that I really like. This is the time to fucking out myself as a nerd. I am a huge nerd. I like anime. I like a lot of certain shows. I like fandom. I have been a chronic Tumblr user since fucking high school. And I've been thinking a lot about like the culture of different places on the internet, because every social media site has its own culture, I think, and the culture can vary from user to user because a lot of what you get out of the internet is how you engage with it. It has to do with how you curate. People know this. How you curate what you look at and how you pick and choose what you let onto your various feeds and stuff. And but even outside of that, there are different cultures across different platforms and social media sites. And the 2 that I most frequent is YouTube and Tumblr, which have very different but also very similar. They're very different, but they have a lot of similarities that I have been turning around in my head. And, like, that might sound weird to you. Like, how the fuck are Tumblr and YouTube different? Especially if, I feel like with Tumblr especially, if you don't use Tumblr, you probably have a very specific idea of what Tumblr is. I feel like it gets a lot of flack, and some of it is deserved. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like the fucking Mishapocalypse didn't happen or whatever the fuck else has happened on that site. Why was I even thinking about the Mishapocalypse? That's been fucking years. God damn. I've been thinking a lot about the different cultures around different places on the internet, especially the cultures on like YouTube and Tumblr specifically, because, and I will say, I am like an old fuck. I should use TikTok. I have it downloaded. I can't get into TikTok for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I never got into Vine back when that was a thing either. And then, like, TikTok came around and it's like, here's your chance to jump on the bandwagon and actually know what the fuck is going on socially in the world. And I don't know. I have nothing against TikTok. Like, people, like, send me TikToks and it's like, what I see is funny, or I, like, watch YouTube shorts or something and it's like, this is from TikTok. It's funny. I should go on TikTok where it originally is from. But I don't know. I don't know if it's some kind of subconscious stubbornness or what, but I don't know. I can't figure out how to use TikTok. I'm an old old fuck. Old weird fuck. I'm like secretly a boomer inside. But so I've been thinking about different, like, cultures in different places on the internet. And I think Tumblr and YouTube strike me as the two places on the internet that have the most sense of community. What do I mean by that? Well, I have a lot of thoughts and I haven't tried to arrange them yet into anything coherent, I don't know which word is right. So we're gonna try on this video and, I don't know, see what happens, see, like, you know, think with me, come with me on this thought journey. So Tumblr I started using in high school. Should I out myself as what kind of blog I had back then? Maybe. I can fucking dox myself or some shit. Whatever. I was one of those kids that had a Sherlock fan blog. I was there, like I said, I was there during the super Hulock phase of Tumblr, and I was very into Sherlock. That was the only one of the three that I was into. I didn't like Supernatural. I tried watching it, and I just wasn't a fan. And Doctor Who seems like something I would be a fan of, but, like, I just haven't been able to get into it. I'm typically not a fan of sci-fi, typically. But I will say, like, Doctor Who definitely seems like something I would like if I watched it. It's also that I know it's a very emotional show, and I have had limited capacity for emotional shows, and I know enough about it to know I would fucking cry so much. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel like doing that more than I am doing it already right now. Spending a lot of time crying right now, and you know what? I think I'm good. I don't need more tears right now. As I say, as I'm cutting onions. But yeah, so, like, I think my first, like, fan blog was a Sherlock blog. Super into that show. Not so much anymore. I have a few opinions about it now that, you know, I should rewatch it again, like, just to see how my opinions of it have changed, because this was, like, back in high school that I was, like, super into it, so I am now 29 years old. It's been a fucking while. And my tastes have changed, my opinions have changed, what I like out of media has changed. Yeah, I think that was my first, and then I've had a few fan blogs. God, I feel like I'm gonna fucking dox myself. Whatever. Okay. This is the thing that frustrates me. As a YouTuber, you, like, have to... Not just as a YouTuber, in general, I have such a hard time keeping any secrets. I can't keep secrets to save my life, and that's not entirely true. I can keep secrets, but, like, I just, like, I don't know. Like, I'm, like, afraid of people finding, like, my old blogs, but at the same time, like, I just talk about everything that comes to my mind, and I am painfully honest, even when I shouldn't be. I am painfully fucking honest, even when it does not benefit me to be honest, and actually is a detriment to be honest. So, yeah, I hate my life, and here we go. I guess we're talking about this, because I'm talking about cultures on YouTube and Tumblr and fucking whatever. Here we go. So, first I had a Sherlock blog. Then I had a Jacksepticeye blog. Great man. I don't watch as much of his content anymore. Not because I dislike him or anything, but, like, I feel like I spent a few years really enjoying his content and really enjoying his community. And I learned a lot about community from him and from Tumblr. And he was definitely one of the people who I think had a community on Tumblr and managed it the best. I have a lot of fucking respect for that man and how he managed his giant community for many, many years. I say many, many years, but, like, you know, a few years. And, like, community, there was a period of time where community was very important to him before he kind of, before it kind of, like, he just grew a little too much for it to become anything manageable. And, like, I don't know him, I don't know his life, you know, I just know he at one point kind of had to pull away from that space, and that's super fucking valid, and, I enjoyed the time that we all, you know, other fans of him and I spent, enjoying his work and, promoting art from each other, and, you know, just, it was a generally really fucking good vibe, and he really put a lot of fucking work and effort into managing his community, and I deeply respect him for doing so for so long, especially when, I think managing any kind of large community is very difficult, especially when you're that size of a channel. So that was a blog that I had that I really enjoyed my time with. And then I think I've had a few other little blogs now and then. I'm talking mostly about the ones that I spent a lot of time on. And then, most recently, I had a blog about Our Flag Means Death, which is my favorite fucking show of all time. Now, let me back up a little bit. That blog was my favorite blog that I've ever had. It was the show Our Flag Means Death has taught me so much about community and, okay, I should back up even further. Hold on. Let's go back. Okay. If you don't know about the show Our Flag Means Death, it is a show about gay fucking pirates. It's about Blackbeard and Stede Bonnet, who were real pirates, and that's about where the reality of the show ends and the fiction begins. it's not a show you go to for historical accuracy, let's just say that. But it is a beautiful, beautiful fucking show. Beautiful fucking show. Only 2 seasons and then it got canceled, unfortunately. I have a lot of thoughts about the show. I would like to make more videos about that show, actually. I have a lot of fucking opinions about it, and I have a lot of thoughts, and I think it is one of the most important queer shows that we have ever had. I think it has done more for the queer community than most other media of its type. And I genuinely believe that. Low-key cut my finger. Not really, but it's okay. So it's a show. Our Flag Means Death it's mostly a comedy, but there's drama in it. About mostly Stede Bonnet is the main character, and it's like the escapades with him, his crew, and Blackbeard and Blackbeard's crew, and just all the characters. And it changed my fucking life. It literally changed my fucking life. And my entire journey with that show was recorded and took place on my Tumblr blog. And the thing about media is I believe that media is a mirror. Media is always a mirror. If you look hard enough and you study hard enough, you can see yourself in the media you consume. And I think you can find out a lot about yourself in the media you consume. I have found out more things about my own personality, about my own desires and wishes, about my own dreams and goals, about the intricacies of how my brain works from studying media that I felt represented me and my experience. I have learned so much about myself just from reading books, watching movies, watching shows, even like YouTube media. There are certain creators that I have watched that have taught me a lot about who I am as a person by watching their own journey. By watching their own journey with themselves. And I'm sure I'll talk about that more someday. But now is not the time. So I think Our Flag Means Death taught me more about myself than any other piece of media, fictional media, that I have ever engaged with. And the blog that I had, I was so fucking proud of. I had so many posts that I deeply, deeply loved. That, through that show, I was able to explore my queerness. I was able to explore my own identity because I identify a lot with the characters in that show. Multiple of the characters, but most notably Blackbeard. I relate with a lot of his story to a kind of unsettling degree. When season 2 came out, I'll get there, but season 2 absolutely destroyed me. And I want to make more videos talking about that show because it deserves all the attention it gets. And it should get more attention, frankly. If you have not seen it, go watch it. I will not be spoiling anything about it in this video, but in future videos I might. So, yeah, I won't be spoiling anything. Go watch it. It's worth it. It's short. It's like, how many episodes is it? I think the first season is 10 episodes, and I think the second season is 8 episodes, I believe. I think. So it's not long at all. Well worth the watch, especially if you are queer, or even if you're a person of color, because there were a lot of people of color who worked on the show, and you can tell. Like, I'm white, I don't know that experience, but I saw a lot of other people of color talking about the, like, camaraderie you see between characters of color, and how the show just deals with intersectionality very well, with queerness, with BIPOC, with how do you say that? Do you say BIPOC? I haven't heard it out loud in a long time. Yeah, that show deals with intersectionality in a very, very well done way. It's very, very well executed. Especially if you are queer and also mentally ill. I will say the show also really deals well with mental illness, I think, which is one of the reasons I relate to it so much. So yeah, I would recommend it, highly recommend it. Go watch it. It's on Max. Got canceled after 2 seasons, which sucks, but whatever. But yeah, that show taught me so much about myself. And over the course of my time on my Tumblr, I discovered so much of queerness, of my own identity, of the community around that show and the community in general. And my blog was my happy place for a long time. It was everything to me. It was my identity, because when you live in a situation where you can't live your identity safely out in the real world, something like Tumblr or YouTube is a fucking blessing. It is a fucking blessing to have a space where you can be yourself when the real world just doesn't fucking allow you to be. And unfortunately, during my episode, during my mental health episode in winter of 2023 and spring of 2024, I deleted my blog. And it's like, why are you crying about this? It's a Tumblr blog. Who fucking cares? It was just a Tumblr blog. But it was more than just a blog for me. It was my personhood. It was my gender identity in a lot of ways. One of the benefits of text on the internet, I would say that technically, through text-based social media, I actually do benefit from male privilege. I would say that. Because they have actually done studies that, I know they did a study of this one time where, like this girl and a guy at a company switched their emails, and so they like used the other one's email, and saw like how differently they were treated, and just by having like a feminine name attached to the email, even though it was them, like, it was a guy using a girl's email, girl using a guy's email, like, just by switching the names and therefore the gender markers for them, they were treated completely differently by the other company members. And it is astounding how much gender in our society plays a role in how we treat each other. That is why when you're trans, you can actually feel when people are treating you as a guy or a girl. You can feel how you are being treated, because we actually do change how we treat people based on their gender. It's just part of who we are as people, because gender is a construct. Gender is both real and not real. We do treat each other differently based on gender, because that is how our society has been constructed. We also treat each other differently based on things like class, race, and sexual orientation, age. Like, there are so many ways that, again, intersectionality, the way that we interact with each other based on what parts of or groups we are a part of. And that's neither good nor bad, but there are definitely bad elements to it, or there are harmful elements to it, because those differences play into discrimination, and discrimination that we aren't even always aware of. you will treat a man that you meet on the street differently than you will treat a woman on the street. And that just is, like, even if you're not trying to, and you will. And you have to work to overcome those biases that are in your brain. Because we all have them. We all have them. Like, I'm no saint. I treat men and women differently as well because I have my own internal biases because of growing up in the culture I've grown up in. And that's why it's our job to become aware of those biases and then change our behavior accordingly. And we'll never be perfect. Nobody will ever be perfect, but that's kind of our responsibility as human beings. So, anyway, that was a bit of a tangent. What was I fucking saying? So, like, my Tumblr blog was the place I could be a man most easily and comfortably. And I was perceived as a man because, you know, without my face to look at or my voice, you know, through just text, I benefit from male privilege, and I come across more masculinely in a way that I can control, if that makes any sense. So, when I deleted it, in a sense, I lost my sense of masculinity. I lost the place I could be masculine. Oh, that's not a good sound. Is this onion okay? We'll see. And there's a lot of it's like, okay, well, why did you delete it if you're so upset about it? Long fucking story that will make no sense to anyone. The short answer is... God, what even is the fucking short answer? God damn. The short answer is I made a mistake. The short answer is I threw away my own personhood for nothing. I was not well at the time. I was not well. I was not in my right mind. I made a lot of mistakes during that period of time, a lot of purchases that were unwise, a lot of ways I behaved that were unwise. Did a lot of things that I regret, and I think the thing I regret the most is deleting my Tumblr. Because the community that I had built on there, the people who were so kind to me, the people who said that my words encouraged them, who saw, you know, it wasn't just about the show. I made a lot of posts about queerness in general and what I believed queerness meant and what I believed being a trans man meant, and about my gender identity and my sexual orientation, being bisexual. I was able to live as myself in a way that I can't in real life. You know, I was able to talk about my sexual attraction in a way that was encouraged instead of shamed. I was able to be a man in a way that was recognized and respected by others. It was my space. It was, and my entire journey with Our Flag Means Death and discovering things about myself, you know, it was all on there, and I deleted it, and I can't ever get that back. And it has shocked me how much that has crushed me. Because it's been about a year since I deleted it, and I'm still mourning it. I'm still grieving it. Because it wasn't just a blog. You know, my other older blogs didn't matter as much as this one did. I had other Tumblr blogs before, like I said. Other than the ones I listed, I had other ones. And none of them were as important as this one. you know, that was the version of myself that I loved the most, and I didn't even realize I loved him so much. I didn't realize that I had been falling in love with myself in a way that I'm not sure I can recreate. And that's why I want to talk about community right now, because it wasn't just the posts that I made, you know? Trying to wipe my eyes without getting onion in them. I'm done with the onions, though. On to carrots. Oh, I shouldn't be doing it that way. Shit. My onion bowl is a little full. So, and I still have, let's see, can I fit these on top? Can I do this? Can I do this? I don't know, might make a mess, I don't know. Carrot bit. Yeah, this is how many fucking onions I'm putting in this goddamn curry. Don't judge me, I don't want to hear a word of judgment. I don't want to hear a fucking thing. But also leave a comment if you think this is a disgusting amount of onions. Like, for real. It's absurd. This is an absurd amount of onions. Absolutely absurd. There's no reason to have this many onions in anything, but I love my sibling very much, and they love onions very much, so, that's why I do this. Because by any rights, there's no reason to have this many onions in anything you make. There's just not. Okay. Okay. What was I talking about? I was talking about something. I was saying something of value. Probably. I did wash these, by the way, already, so don't yell at me, please. Long ass carrot. I was talking about community and our flag. Oh, it's not, you know, the reason I'm not just upset about losing my posts, and my thoughts and my opinions, although I am very sad about that. Extremely. It's also that, you know, there were a lot of people who told me that the opinions I shared about the show were, like, helpful to them in their own queer journey and their own experience. The post I made about queerness in general, the philosophies I have on what being queer means and what community means and what the queer community means, was very important to people, and because it was important to them, it was important to me. And I mean, it was important to me anyways, but, you know, on Tumblr, people have a lot of shit to say about Tumblr, about, like, them being, like, whatever, like, you know, I don't know, like, too PC or whatever. And I'm not gonna say that there aren't certain areas on Tumblr that I think are a little bit, there are areas on every social media site that are the worst of the place and the best of the place. And I will say the worst of Tumblr does sometimes over-focus on being politically correct in favor, over the understanding and treating the humanity with the complexity it deserves. I don't know if that made sense the way I said that. I don't think it's bad that our culture has been trying to change the way we speak about other people, change the way we speak about communities, change the way we speak about issues, to try to be more inclusive, to try to be more sensitive to people that need to be heard, and whose experience is often overlooked in certain conversations. I think it is very important and valuable that we have been, as a society, trying to change how we talk about people to, and I hate calling it political correctness because it shouldn't be politically correct. It's just being kind. Like, being more inclusive with your language and being more inclusive with how you talk about matters. It's just a kindness. It's a kindness making sure that whoever's listening to you feels heard, even if they are a demographic that you don't completely understand or you don't completely relate with. It's not about being safe from cancel culture. It's about being inclusive and making sure everyone feels accepted and included in what you are saying. Now, I do agree that there are... The thing with that is there is also still complexity to humanity. Humanity is an extremely complex and diverse and gray entity. Humanity is not a monolith. They're even trying to be sensitive to everyone, there is still complexity even with that. And I think there are certain areas of Tumblr that struggle with the complexity that is required when you are talking about any human issue. Their absolutes are almost always wrong. And even there, I said absolutes are almost always wrong. Certain areas of Tumblr do like to think in absolutes that are not realistic for the world that we occupy together as people. So that being said, that is I would say the worst of the areas of Tumblr. But the best of Tumblr is there's nowhere else on the internet where it is as accepted to be broken. On Tumblr, it is, things like queerness and neurodivergence and chronic illness. They're experiences that are taken at face value and believed. You say you're trans, nobody's going to argue with you, unless they're a super big asshole. But usually, you say you're trans, no one's going to argue with you. You say you're queer, no one's going to argue with you. You say you're neurodivergent, no one's going to argue with you. That you can be the versions of yourself that a lot of society forces you to hide. And it's not just about queerness. There's also, like, being neurodivergent. Like, I have been happy to see that there are a lot of other areas on the internet where neurodivergence is being more openly talked about. I grew up with an autistic sister. It is highly likely I'm autistic myself. I went to a school that was mainly for children with autism, even though at the time I was not diagnosed. I went there because I had of my vision issues, because it was for other disabilities, not just autism, but it was like primarily for autism. I've grown up with autism in my family and like around me a lot, which is why they said I should get checked, because like the teachers at the school were like, you should get tested. You do not seem neurotypical. But anyway, there's a lot of other areas on the internet that are talking more about neurodivergence, but like Tumblr for a while was one of the only places where it was talked about that much, because it is a very neurodivergent friendly site, I think. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. So, it's not just queerness, but neurodivergence, and if I'm gonna be honest, Tumblr is like the only place, it's not literally the only place, but there is not another place on the internet where it is more socially acceptable to be chronically ill. The thing is that on Tumblr, the worst of Tumblr is bad at seeing the gray of humanity and bad at seeing the complexity that comes with humanity, and tries to reduce a lot of things down to very simple rules that cannot be universally applied. That is the worst of Tumblr. The best of Tumblr has accepted me in all stages of my life for who I was and all of the complexities that go into who I am. And the best of Tumblr celebrates the things that often we have to hide in everyday life. And a lot of that is queerness. Sorry, there's a thing in my carrot that I just want to pick out real quick. A lot of it is queerness, neurodivergence, mental health issues, physical health issues. And, you know, the sense of community I've found on Tumblr over the years. I tried to push up my glasses. I don't even have glasses. I don't have them on. I do have glasses. I'm just not wearing them. Anyway. And, you know, I've been thinking about that compared to YouTube's sense of community and culture. I think the worst parts of YouTube, there's a lot of worst parts of YouTube, if I'm honest, but I'm gonna be careful how I say this too, because I don't want to say something I don't actually mean. I think the worst parts of YouTube is like the like conspiracy theory side of YouTube, and the like alt-right areas, and a fairly toxic, overall, honestly, a fairly toxic work culture, I would say. I think one of YouTube's biggest flaws, and it's just because of the nature of capitalism. It's not YouTube's fault. It's just how capitalism fucking works. So it's really not YouTube's fault. But it's still a problem, is this toxic work culture that is encouraged on this platform because it's the only way you can make it work as a living, is to be kind of overly ambitious and, you know, work all the time. And, you know, I mean, you can't really take breaks because the algorithm punishes you for it. And, you know, there's, it encourages a toxic work mindset. And I think that's some of the worst. But some of the best of YouTube is the sense of community that is built up around creators and their work. I have seen some very beautiful communities on here. Actually, if you've ever seen Born Losers Gaming, they have one of the most beautiful communities I have ever seen on YouTube. And they are a channel that I enjoy. You know, I found their community semi-recently, I think in 2022, and it's been a home for me. And, you know, it's harder to get that sense of community with larger creators now. There's just a certain point where when you have so many people, it gets a little unwieldy to manage, a little bit like herding cats. And some people handle that very well. And, you know, everyone has a different way of handling it and dealing with that. But, you know, especially with like smaller creators, you know, that sense of community, it starts out being about the creators, and then it goes past that into being about everyone involved who loves their work. It expands beyond just the creator's work on its own, and it becomes about everyone else. It becomes about everyone who enjoys it. It becomes about everyone who has found each other and banded together because they all admire the work of these creators. And that's where I see the overlap in YouTube and Tumblr. Is Tumblr and YouTube both have created communities that I don't think could exist in any other way. And again, I will say asterisk on Twitch. I don't know as much about Twitch. I don't know as much about the communities on Twitch. For all I know, that could be the third in this little group that I'm talking about. But I'm not on Twitch as much. So I just can't speak to it either way. But on Tumblr and YouTube, like, I have seen such strong communities that have, like, come together, all because they admire someone's work or they admire someone's art. And it become, the thing about community is we call it community because it's not just about being a fan of it. It's not just about being a fan of someone's work. It's not just about being, liking to consume or enjoying the consummation. That's not what I wanted to say. Enjoying consuming someone's work. Wow, that's not what I wanted to fucking say at all. Oh well, that's out there. That's clippable, I guess. About consuming someone's work. And it's not just about that. It becomes something bigger because people come together and they work together to create something bigger and something that makes everybody feel included and makes everybody feel seen. And it's community is so much more complex than just fandom. This is probably making a lot of noise. Terrible. And that's the thing is but I don't see that anywhere else. Like Twitter, I think there is no sense of camaraderie or community on Twitter. In my mind, Twitter is only useful as I have a quick short message to get to the people who follow me. And that is at its most useful, I think. And I mean, other people may have other opinions, but Twitter is not built to sustain community, I think. It's not built to hold that, just by the nature of its design and its culture. I'm not going to talk about Twitter culture right now because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But even like TikTok, I think you don't see the sense of community on TikTok either. I mean, there is some community there. I'm not saying there isn't, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all that you see on even YouTube, and definitely not what you see on Tumblr, which I think might be why I struggle to get into TikTok, because for me it's really important to have a sense of community and a sense of enjoying things with other people and building each other up and, working together to create something more out of this thing we enjoy than it was before. Our Flag Means Death would not be what it is without its community. Jacksepticeye would not be who he is now without the time he spent with his community and the time that we all enjoyed his work and encouraged him and stuff in those early days, when it wasn't so toxic. There's a lot of creators, not just creators, but, creators, works of art, pieces of media would not be what they are without the people who came around to build something from it. And that's why places like Tumblr, places like Tumblr and YouTube are so fucking important for our society, because, social media should be about community. It should always be about community. We cannot exist without community. We cannot thrive without community. We cannot thrive without each other. And it is so fucking hard in this day and age, and as an adult, and it's, even as a kid, it's also hard as a kid. I'm not gonna fucking pretend it's not. It is so hard to make connection, right now. I've been hearing a lot about male loneliness epidemic. I think there's just a loneliness epidemic in general. I don't think it's necessarily limited to gender. I know why it's been specified as gender, because men typically, societally, do have a harder time reaching out, and I think society treats our men poorly. We treat our men poorly. Women are treated worse in a lot of measures. There's a lot of ways that women are treated much worse, but there is a certain almost emotional violence against men from society that isolates them and encourages isolation, encourages this sense of masculinity that is built off of self-sufficiency alone, and creates a toxic environment where men don't feel like they can reach out emotionally to other people. And I think that's why it's specifically been called a male loneliness epidemic. I think that's why we were specifying gender in that, but there is also just a fucking loneliness epidemic. Everybody's lonely. Everybody's fucking lonely, and a lot of it's COVID. You know, people like to forget that there was a time before COVID, and there have been significant differences in our society in the way we treat each other and the way we interact that are lasting effects on COVID. We all have trauma from COVID, whether you want to admit it or not. We all have some level of trauma from COVID. It was a traumatic experience that everybody in the fucking world went through. And nobody wants to talk about it because, funny enough, you know, when people go through trauma, a lot of times they don't want to talk about it. And shockingly, when an entire planet goes through a traumatic event together, shocking, some of the things are replicated. You know, some of the symptoms of trauma are replicated worldwide. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to acknowledge how much being locked away for months, for some of us and longer for others, affected us as a society and affected us as people. We don't want to talk about that. We're not ready for that conversation. And the way things are going, I actually do fear that we are never going to have that conversation. And I hope we do. And I think there are probably a lot of scientists who are going to make sure we have that conversation at some fucking point. But I think that's a discussion that should be happening now, and it's not. I was definitely affected by COVID. I definitely have trauma from that period of isolation. I've been isolated for 10 years. I've been dealing with extreme isolation since I dropped out of college because I've been so ashamed that I can't leave my house. I've been ashamed of my failure and ashamed of my body and ashamed of who I am as a person, that I have not been able to exist as a human being for a very fucking long time. And that isolation is driving me a little bit batty. I keep repeating that part of that video to myself where I say that because it was very fucking funny to me. Also the part where I'm just laughing at my own jokes, but the part where I'm like, guess what I've been doing this year? Catastrophizing. So fucking funny to me. Like, oh my God. Like, damn, I make myself laugh, and that's good. Anyway. But this is why community is so important, especially post-COVID. And we're not post-COVID. Let me be fucking clear. COVID still exists. Still need to get your shots. It is not over. It's just being managed better right now than it was at the very beginning. But it has still had a significant effect on our society that we are not talking about. And one of those effects is this loneliness, which was already an issue before because loneliness has been an issue for society for... I keep trying to push on my glasses. I don't have them. For a long fucking time. God, I went on... I really fucking had feelings, I guess. I need to cut the carrots, but I'm first gonna peel the potatoes too. They sprouted. And for those who don't know, if your potatoes have sprouted, they are still okay. Just cut out the sprouts. Don't eat the sprouts. They will make you sick. They are poison. But if you cut out the sprouts, they're fine. As long as it's not all mushy and shit, it's fine. So, I'm gonna fucking cut these out. But yeah. So, when we live in a world like this, where community in real life was hard to find before, and it's harder to find in certain areas. And I also think you do need to, it is important to, like, especially if you're dealing with depression, it is really important to find physical community when you can. Online is never going to be enough. It's never going to be a substitute for those real world, real life relationships. Not a perfect substitute anyways. And it is important to find the real world community where you can. However, if you are in a position, like myself, where real world community is next to impossible to access because of location, because of lack of transportation, because of if where you live does not encourage your sense of identity, it is very hard. You cannot you cannot thrive in a community where your identity is not encouraged, respected, and accepted. That is not community. If your identity is not accepted, that is not a community. So while I do have places like my church available to me, and I do utilize my church, my identity is not respected there. And you cannot have community if your very personhood is not accepted. You just can't have that. So for people like me, and I'm sure others of you out there, God, look at this sprout. It's big. If you are struggling to find community where you live because your identity is not accepted, I want you to know you are not alone. You are not the only one. There are a lot of places in the world that accept queerness as a valid identity right now. We live in a time where more places than not, at least in like North America, I'm not going to talk about other parts of the world right now, but at least in North America, in most of North America, being queer is not going to, I mean, it's still dangerous in a lot of ways, but you can usually, there are a lot of places in America where you can go about your day as a queer person and there will not be any danger to you or your well-being. I do not live in one of those areas. I live in an area where it is actively dangerous for me to be queer. And I am out because I cannot live in the closet. I cannot survive in the closet. And that's the thing about queerness is you can't live in the closet forever. It will kill you. It will kill you slowly and painfully, and you will die. And even if you don't actually die, you will die in a way that is almost worse. And that is why it's so fucking important to find community where you can, in any way you can. We are social beings, and whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whatever, it doesn't matter. You still need people. You need community. Everyone needs community. We are social creatures. You know, they did an experiment with monkeys that it was a little unethical, and they wouldn't do this nowadays, but where they had baby monkeys taken away from their mothers and given, I think it was like this just like wire mannequin monkey that could provide like food and stuff, but could not provide any sense of community or emotional well-being. And if I recall correctly, the monkeys died because your basic needs are not enough to sustain your life. We need community, we need people, we need care, we need love, we need affection. We need something to band together over. We need things that we can enjoy together. We need community. And you know, if you are a person who cannot access community in any other way, then I think places like Tumblr and YouTube and Discord, Discord is another one. Discord is a fantastic place for community. If you are struggling finding a place with community, Google Discords and then like something you're a fan of, something you like. You could be like Discords about music, or a show you like, or you know, a hobby you have. There will be multiple to choose from, and it might take some searching, it might take some trial and error, but you should find, you know, if you keep looking, you will find one where you can fit in and belong. If you're a lot of YouTubers have their own Discord available. If sometimes under like a paid thing, sometimes just for free. It depends on the creator and what their thing is. You know, it's a great fucking place to find community. I should have brought up Discord before, because like I met my my partners, you know, my exes. I met them on Discord, and it was a fandom Discord for Yuri on Ice, which is another show I fucking love. Another queer show that deserves every bit of praise it got. So, yeah, community is so fucking important. And the reason it hurts so much to lose my Tumblr, even though it was my fault, it hurts so much because I didn't just lose my own thoughts and opinions. I didn't just lose my own identity, which was a hit in of itself. Losing all of my sense of identity that I had spent a long time building up, crushed me. Absolutely fucking crushed me. Crushed me. But it wasn't just that, it was I lost the community that I had built, and, you know, the people that I could call friends, and, you know, people whose opinions I enjoyed hearing about and just interacting with, and it's like, okay, well, just make another Tumblr, but I struggle so much with grief that it's really hard for me to rebuild what I tore down. Because theoretically, yeah, just start posting about the show again. But I had so many posts and opinions that I don't know how to recreate, and maybe it's not about recreation. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not about recreation, but creating something new in its place. But I have so much grief over losing myself and losing my entire experience with that show that I can never recreate. I can never recreate seeing it for the first time again. That's what I can't do. I can't ever recreate my joy and enthusiasm of seeing myself in that show in a way I had never seen myself before. And that's lost forever. That's just lost forever. I'll never have that again. And that's the hard part. And I'm trying to build a new Tumblr, but I've been grieving so much that I've fucking forgotten how to use the goddamn website. I've forgotten how to be myself on there. I've forgotten how to... And that doesn't make sense to anyone, probably. I've literally forgotten how to be on there, even though I've been on there since I was young, and it's crushing me, and it still hurts. That's the thing, is even though it's been over a year since I lost it, it still hurts. I lost something. I lost a part of myself that was very important to me, and I didn't even realize how important to me it was until it was gone. And community is so important because I haven't felt like I can even access community lately. So the thing about depression is it's a very isolating experience, and this bout of depression has been really fucking rough. Probably the worst bout I've ever had. Not probably, it definitely is. I'm struggling to connect with people. I'm struggling to connect with people. I'm struggling to be myself. Except here, I don't know, it's a little easier here on video. But I'm struggling to be myself. I'm really struggling to... I'm struggling to connect with anyone. And if I'm honest, YouTube is great, and I love filming these videos. But while I'm filming a video, I'm connecting with you, the viewer, but it's... You know, at the end of the day, I'm still talking to my webcam. At the end of the day, there's no one actually here. And I think I do feel a sense of community, even still, just with talking to you. I do feel some sense of community. I feel a sense of connection that That's why it's easy to talk here, because I do feel like you are here with me, taking the skin off this potato. And that has created its own type of sense of community for me, but that's not enough. That can't be enough. And what I really need is I need places in the real world and people to connect with in the real world, but I just don't have that right now. I don't have people who want to be friends. I don't, you know, I did at the most recent psych ward visit, I met some people that I am trying to maintain connection with, but it is quite difficult to maintain connection after the psych ward for whatever reason. Being at the psych ward creates a unique sense of community while you're there, and we help each other constantly. And the best part about the psych ward is the community you make there, and the people that you become close with the people at the psych ward in a way you can't replicate with other people. There is a closeness and a community there that might only exist for a week or two, but it is something powerful and connective and deeply important, even if it only does last for a couple weeks, you know. And I'm trying to maintain friendships with them, but it is often really hard to maintain those friendships because it's such a unique space, and then a lot of times it's hard to figure out how to connect with each other outside of it. Hoping that I can stay connected with them, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know, I'm really suffering for community right now, and, you know, Tumblr should be my safe haven, because it always has been. And, you know, now I feel disconnected even from that space. I feel disconnected from the people on there. People that used to feel like friends and community, feel like I feel like I can't connect with them anymore. I feel like I can't relate to their experiences anymore. And I worry that I've changed too much as a person to ever find that space home again. And I really hope that's not the case. I really hope that's not the case, because Tumblr is deeply important to me, and always has been. And it's like, say what you fucking want about it, like, you know, whatever. Say what you want about it, but it's... YouTube is also a space where I have seen community be, like, I would say YouTube is the other site that I see the most community on, aside from Tumblr, but there's nothing like the community on Tumblr that you can create if you know what to look for, know how to curate the people that you interact with, if you know how to, you know, pick the fandoms that have the healthiest, like, relationships with each other, because, yeah, there's some that just, I don't want to say that there's, like, any that's like, oh, the entire fandom just sucks, because I think in every fandom you can find a pocket or two that are good, even if it's a really toxic one overall. But, you know. You know, I'm really struggling with a sense of community right now. A lot. And YouTube is important to me, but right now, I need a Tumblr family again. And I am trying something a little funky, where I guess it's not funky, but I guess it's just not something. I don't know how many creators do this anymore. It used to be bigger, but, you know, I do actually technically have a Tumblr for this channel. I will link it in the description if you are interested in following it. There's like nothing on there right now because I just, man, really haven't had the emotional spoons to do that. But I'm hoping to kind of put, like, maybe some pictures of things I make on there, pictures of my dog, things I'm making, and also, you know, just things that I'm interested in. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll start posting about Our Flag Means Death on there. I'd like to make some videos on it because I still have a lot of thoughts about that show. It's my favorite show of all time. Love it to death. Our Flag Means Death. Literally my favorite show of all time. So maybe I'll rebuild it on my YouTube channel. Tumblr. I don't know. But yeah, that's a space where you can also like send me questions there if you want, or whatever. Stalk me on there, I guess. I don't care. I don't care. I'm an open fucking book. You'll know everything about me within the first 15 seconds of meeting me. So it's fine. I have no secrets. I have no privacy. I just say everything about myself at all times, even if it's to my own detriment. It's fine. It's fucking fine. I'm going a little bit batty. I'm driving myself a little bit bonkers. A little bit around the corner, around the bend. That was like one of the funniest things I've ever said. I'm so proud of myself. It's so fucking funny. It's so stupid. So stupid. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Tumblr, go ahead. I'll link it. I technically have a Twitter too, but God, I haven't done anything on there either. And might not. I mean, that's fucking, who knows if I'll even use that. I don't know. I'm a good YouTuber, right? I have the social media sites. I have the other stuff. I fucking, there goes a potato peel. I know what I'm doing. I know how to, I'm a good YouTuber. I'm a good creator. I know how to fucking, whatever. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Probably nowhere that makes sense. Gotta get the sprout out. Okay. And then, now, I'm gonna chop the carrots off camera because that will be loud. That will be loud as fuck. So, that went faster than I think it usually does. Because usually I'm really fucking slow at chopping vegetables. Yeah. Community's important. Find one if you don't have one. Loneliness is a real problem. Loneliness is crushing. I've been struggling a lot with loneliness lately. Community is fucking important and vital to survival, because we need each other. We need people. The worst thing you can do for depression is isolate. And guess what I've been doing? Yeah. I don't know if I talked about everything I wanted to in this video, but we had a fun time, I think. We talked about stuff. Yeah. I guess that's a video. You know. Don't isolate. If you're struggling with depression, find people, anyone that you can talk to. It's very important not to be alone when you are at your worst. So, yeah, take care of yourselves for me.